Hey everyone, welcome to the UkeStuff channel. This is still my Luna Ziricote model. It's got fingerprints all over it right now. But I have done what I would deem as a setup on it. Now, for the record, I didn't have to adjust the nut or the saddle at all. I was okay with those measurements. But what I wanted to do was to change the strings. Now, again, I love the company that we all call Aquila or Aquila. I think they say Aquila is what they do. But anyway, I think it means eagle, in fact. But they're the string company whose strings appear on most companies' ukuleles. And that, by the way, is a whole nother story. There was a time when ukuleles were sold with absolute just trash nylon strings, black generic strings that just were awful. And it became a thing for a ukulele to show that it was quality because it had Aquila strings on them. So as a result, that has become the industry standard. That's what you get. Although I'm starting to see other strings such as the Dario on some as well. But I'm a fluorocarbon guy. I really like playing with fluorocarbons. I don't know why. Just I like them. I like pretty much any company that makes them. I generally fall back on Martin M600s, which what these are, partially because they're cheap and they're available everywhere. So I swapped on some Martin strings, and then I did three other things that I'll point out. First of all, if you notice, this fretboard is much darker now, as is the bridge. And this is a walnut bridge. Now, I didn't use a oil to stain or anything. I just oiled it, and it was amazing how dry it was. I didn't ever really notice that. I just thought that was, that color was it, and it's not. So it's now treated with F1 oil on both spots. Then I tackled the sharp fret edges. So if I rub my finger along here, I've got a couple here that I could have done just a slightly better job, but it's a million times better. It wasn't bad. Again, I just mentioned that I had gone to a major retail chain where they sell some Lunas, and man, were they sharp. And this one was showing indications that it was gonna be sharp. So watch the whole video. I always like to make sure that I'm doing things right. And what this guitar sort of luthier did was he tapes everything and then sands through the tape. The sharp edges come through the tape and then sands down that way so that he isn't ruining the finish. And I really wanted to make sure I did that with that Ziricote lining on the sides. So the fretboard is now generally nice and smooth. Even that is nothing compared to it was. So that is good. So I did that. A little bit of oil there. New strings. Then I put on strap buttons on it because I like, generally I'm playing and I'm standing with students. So I did that. I did notice that there's I didn't even notice this before. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but you can buy these little rubber grommets. I think there's a beer in Germany that uses these, so a lot of Germans just use that red top off of them. But I didn't notice this, but the joint here where the two sides meet is, again, I missed this in the review. It's a really shoddy joint. I don't know why they just didn't they did such a good job with the maple binding. I don't know why they just didn't run a strip of maple down there, because that just looks, look at that. That looks awful. You can actually see it on the camera. I don't know. But again, it's hidden, right? Maybe that's what they're thinking, is that it's a hidden part of the ukulele. But just this thing has some weird not niceness in the midst of being a gorgeous ukulele. It's a contradiction to itself. Now, I like the sound better with the fluorocarbons. If you go back, you could probably compare the review of this with the one before I changed the strings. But I am noticing that it still has the sustain that's really mid to low heavy. Listen to this. The high frequencies just die out, yet those mid-range notes just keep hanging on and on. It's just a weird sustain on it. But those were the things that I did. It doesn't take a lot of time. They actually make special tools to do that sanding with too. I just have a sanding block, and I just make sure with a ukulele with the gloss finish and everything that everything was well taped up and so forth. But it looks, I don't know, I thought the pale fretboard looked nice, but I think the oiled fretboard even looks nicer. And it feels easier to play. I like the sound better. And the big question would be, would that change my rating of the instrument? Well, I'm not going to change the rating because that's the instrument that you get, is what I bought. So this is a step up. Maybe it makes it a 3.5 with those slight changes, but I still think in the price point there are some better laminates or even better mixture of solid top wood and laminate back and sides so you can get that beat it. So I wouldn't bring it to a 4 ukulele rating out of my 5 ukulele rating, but maybe to a 3.5 at this point. And again, this is not a bad ukulele. It is a very pretty ukulele. My students, as they walk by and they see it, are just, they are floored by it. They see how nice it looks. But it's not the greatest instrument, but it's not a bad instrument. So it's really a lukewarm review, and I get that. It's no hate towards Luna, but I do wish that they would do better quality control at those frets because it's every one that I see. It's not just some, it's every one I've ever played. And again, if you own a Luna and its frets have never been sharp, fine. And please actually make a comment and stick up for the brand. And it's so well done, but just such weirdness that they could just fix.